Hey guys, this here is Getaway Driver 101, and today I'm going to be giving y'all a video on how to increase FPS on Windows and for your games and for even stability, and explain how FPS and stability kind of go hand in hand, and how you should be a little cautious about how high FPS works. Careful listening to all them Fortnite or Roblox YouTubers about making your computer super fast, because let me tell you, it don't always make your computer fast. Sometimes it makes them a little buggy or glitchy, and fixing a buggy and glitchy computer is kind of hard to do if you don't know what you're looking for or how to fix it. So you're gonna go here. You're gonna type in PO or PW, and you're gonna either go to choose power plan or edit power plan. You can do either one. And from here, you're gonna choose ultimate performance. Now, this is a Windows setting that will increase your CPU power. It'll make the computer run much more hotter and much more power hungry, so it will use more electricity and it will be a little bit more aggressive on performance, but it will definitely give you a little bit more FPS, about anywhere between a 2 to a 10% lift. So once you do that, I also recommend going to your settings in BIOS. So once you go into BIOS, you'll shut down your computer and you'll tap the delete key. When you do, you'll go and look for your main menu or memory, and then you'll look for load XMP or XMP profile. It should be under one of those, or one of those sections, or should be under memory, and then you'll select XMP profile. Now, your memory should have a base and maximum clock. You will get a kind of be able to see both versions of the clock. If you're running a very high clock speed, you can go with the high clock speed if you want, but note, higher clock speed also means a little bit more strain on the computer. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It can be, depending on how old the equipment is, how old the memory is. If your memory in your computer is still pretty new, it should be able to handle these settings just fine. As it ages with the settings in place, it won't hurt nothing because the settings are in place. Now, when you enable XMP, if something goes wrong, the computer should detect it after 3 attempts. If it doesn't boot Windows up after 3 trainings, let's say it trains once, and then it reboots and it goes to boot up, and then it trains again, and then reboots, and then boots up, and then trains again, and then reboots, and then trains again, and then that's kind of when you should hit the BIOS key and go back into BIOS and turn it off. Disable it, or leave it on and turn it from 1 to 2, so you drop it from, let's say, 6,000 to 5,600. So you're going to drop the frequency or the voltage on that. It won't necessarily hurt it because that's automatic. So that only means if you get profile 1 and profile 2. If you just get one profile, you can run the one profile and it should work. If yours has auto, you can leave it on that and it will adjust itself. But those are my recommendations for more FPS. Now, these are basic settings. This one here is the only advanced / basic setting. And when I say basic / advanced, it's advanced because you have to restart the computer and click a special key. I know that sounds a little goofy, but it's true. You're gonna click the special key, and then boots up, go into memory, XMP, profile 1. Now, for most people, I would recommend the lower version of the clock speed, especially if you're new to how XMP and memory clocks and all that stuff works, because you got to be careful with this stuff. You can really mess the computer up, or even brick it to where it doesn't work. And if you brick it, it is as it says. It is a brick. It is just a paperweight. So don't do that, because if you do that, it no turn on no. So let's move on to the next way you can increase FPS. So FPS is one of those things that if you are experiencing jitters or lag, so we will go into a game. If you are experiencing jitters or lag, it will be more than likely related to two things. Either your monitor, the FPS is so high that the monitor is no longer able to keep up with the FPS, or your computer has too many things tweaked one way and too many things tweaked another way, and it's got all the other settings confabbled, and now you're dealing with... Okay, now that I can hear. So, as I said, as you can see, it's running 150, which is incorrect. It should be running 200 FPS. But since I'm running OBS on here, yeah, I think the bar is frozen. Yeah. Yep. So, can't really even show you what the FPS is reading because I don't have my other FPS counter installed right now. I uninstalled it due to some technical difficulties from the last video driver. So anyways, when it comes to FPS, you're gonna have the scenario, let's say you're playing your game, and my game runs really smooth. I don't get really... Don't get me wrong, I've had my issues with micro stutters and small little glimpses here and there, but I have found my own ways of tuning that stuff out without manipulating things that you should not manipulate. More or less, I've been able to go in and change how the game itself. Say it says I have 0 FPS now. Out of 99,000, it's saying that basically I got 1 million FPS. So in most games, let's say you're running this 200 FPS and your monitor is only rated for, let's say, default value 60 Hertz. Okay, which mine is not. Mine is 144. So if its default value is 60, you're probably better off running VSync, because it will make sure that you always stay at the correct FPS without it going up or down. It'll just try to sit at 1 FPS. It'll just try to sit there at that number and stay there. Now, I recommend that for games that are bugging or games that are glitchy. You just turn it on, or you can put it on adaptive. I usually recommend adaptive or on. So now that it's on adaptive, which you ain't gonna see a difference, I don't think, on my game, but it makes it to where it's like it tries to match everything up as best as it can without letting anything cause any delays or micro stutters. So for FPS, I do recommend that if you are experiencing that at every cost, no matter what you do, you cannot seem to fix a micro stutter or a bug that you're having with the game, I would run VSync. I would run VSync and see if that solves your issue. Only on the game settings side. Don't go into your graphics and enable it. You enable it as a global setting, it'll cause a lot of problems with a lot of games, and you don't want to do that. If you've downloaded any third-party graphics card software, I recommend uninstalling it and getting a fresh install of your drivers and starting with a fresh install of drivers for your graphics card to see if that resolves the issue. Because sometimes graphics cards and third-party software kind of argue with each other and then they break. And then the next thing you know, you're dealing with a problem that could have never have happened if you didn't run the software or if you knew what the issue was before you dealt with it, so it wouldn't have happened. But you can't always prevent things even if you try. And I'm one of them people. I try to prevent things with my computers and my technology. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. So, as you can see, my FPS runs very well. It's supposed to be running 200 FPS. Although, I would love if this game could put a view distance chart in it. No Man's Sky devs, please put a view distance meter slider for PC so we can slide our view distance up and down, because having it at this... What distance? Yeah, it's right. So right there is when it loads in. That's not my computer doing that. That's the software of the game. That's also something else that you're going to experience it. Some games have even small glitches like that, where the visual effects are just not synced up with distance properly, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's something you have to wait on the game developers to fix. So if you're experiencing a problem with one particular application, I recommend uninstalling it and waiting like even a day, maybe 2 days, maybe a week, and reinstall it and see if it's fixed. Sometimes you have to uninstall an app for more than just a few minutes, or sometimes more than just 1 day. Sometimes you have to leave it uninstalled for quite a few days and then reinstall it. And don't ask me why, but like it's something to do with time frame on when updates come out with some applications. It could be due with the local data center that it's coming from. Like, you never know. Like, technology is weird and is buggy and is glitchy. It does not always work correctly. So if you're experiencing that, that's the best thing I can give you. VSync and hope it fixes your issue. If not, uninstall your game. If it's your favorite game, deal with the issue. If not, message the game devs. Do something. Just remember, I mean, it's a game. They're gonna have issues occasionally, and that's bound to happen. But as long as you went into your power plan and you set it to ultimate, and you can set this to whatever time you want, I just recommend that it's higher than 30 minutes and not any higher than 3 hours. If it's any higher than that, it's kind of pointless to turn on. I also recommend leaving your maximum processing on 100 on both. The reason why is because you want turbo clock to kick on, which, if you don't know what turbo clock is, for those that don't know much about how turbo clocks work with Windows, your turbo clock is this right here. See how it's doing 5.6, 5.23, basically 5 gigahertz almost the entire time. Its base clock is only 3 gigahertz. Your boost clock is like turning your processor into 2. It's just, you're running double the speed. So your boost clock, you definitely want it running. Now this also counts as basically like a light overclock. I wouldn't even say that. It's more like, in a way, it's a light overclock, but also a light performance increase. But it's also going to increase how much your computer's handling on handles. It's going to increase your threads. on how much threading you're doing. It's going to increase everything. Sometimes it will make your computer run hot. So just be prepared that when you turn some settings on, that includes XMP, like I explained at the beginning. If you turn XMP on, you're gonna just make sure you go with the lowest profile if you don't know what you're doing. If you know what your brand is, and you know what your memory can run, and you know what your computer can do, turn the settings up, bump them up. But do this all at your own risk. Remember, it is a machine. Machines malfunction. Machines can blow up. Machines can burn down. So, just be cautious. If you do more than XMP, more than power options, and VSync doesn't help a little bit, and you're running your monitor way above too high of an FPS, you probably need to turn the FPS down on some games. FPS locks are fantastic ways to fix your problem, and so is VSync. VSync will also be your temperature helper on preventing your computer from going blah for no reason. So if some games are super duper hot, probably should run VSync. Like for me, I probably should run VSync on Call of Duty and Battlefield. I don't really like to, but if I don't run it, I do almost 80C on my CPU the entire time I'm playing. And running that high on a temperature, be a cooking. And I'm not a cooking a turkey. So, just note that your computer can malfunction if you turn things too high. So, XMP, ultimate performance, 100, and next would be setting up your graphics card settings. So, the way your graphics card settings work, we're going to go to NVIDIA control panel. If you have an AMD graphics card, you will go to the AMD Aileron application, I believe is what it's called. So you'll go to that. And what that application will have is you'll go to the home, and then I think it's like games or display or performance or something like that. And then you're going to go to, from performance, you're going to look for like, you got display and then graphics, and then you're going to go into display or graphics, and then you're going to go to your section in there. Now, your latency section versus your anti-lag, those are kind of the same thing but different at the same time. So just make sure that with AMD that you are keeping track. I would write down or even screenshot what all your settings are by default, and make sure that the default setting switch is there and that you can that it works. Because I never know with AMD's apps. I'm not throwing AMD under the bus or anything, because NVIDIA is just as broken. So just make sure that your AMD is able to revert back to default in case you turn whatever setting on and it makes your AMD graphics card run wonky or something. If you benchmark with the AMD Aileron thing, be careful because it's kind of iffy. Okay, moving on. So, gonna go here, NVIDIA. Then you got your program settings. You're gonna go all the way down to the bottom. You got quality, and then you got performance. Now, this is actual filtering quality. I recommend leaving this on quality, not high quality, because if you bump this up on high quality, you're gonna have some games that are gonna blind the living crap out of you. Maximum FPS, you can turn that on or off, up to you. And then you have image scaling. I always recommend turning this on and setting it to just, you know, you can probably like set it to 75. You can probably set it to like here. And that's only if you're not running a 40 series, and that's because I recommend, if you're running a 40 series, I recommend running it at 100 or higher. Because 40 series, like 4060, 4070, 4080, 4090, and 50 series, you can have some real honest to God crazy graphics with that. Because that does as it does. It increases the edges and the shadowing, edging. Quality. Careful messing with some of this stuff. And then you're gonna go to power management mode, preferred maximum performance. So you're gonna make sure this is on maximum performance, not normal. What this will do is this will make sure that your graphics card is able to give all, let's say 180 watts, or all 220, or all 360, or all 580. Now, if you're running a 50 series, leave it on normal. Do not put it on performance if you're running a 50 series. Why do I say that? It's because a 50 series is very new. 50 series still have lots of problems and glitches. And that's a setting that the 50 series may not be too happy about. Alright, so all of that and all those settings set up, I recommend restarting your computer. Give it a fresh reboot, let it boot up. Once it boots up, give it a few minutes, and then jump on a game. I'm being serious. Thanks for watching, like or subscribe, and I hope this helped you out.